Dick Cheney is a controversial figure. From his decisions as Vice President of the United States to shooting a friend in the face, he's been involved in some questionable things. We'll be focusing on his role as CEO of Halliburton, an oil company, and how he facilitated controversial practices. From some questionable financial decisions of the company to evasion of U.S. sanctions against the Middle East, and finally, his decisions as Vice President and how they affected the company. We'll start with financials.
To begin, Dick Cheney and his company Halliburton have been involved in a number of financial controversies throughout his role as CEO in Halliburton. For example, his company was charged with overfilling the books in the accounting aspect when they merged with Dresser Industries, another oil company, which resulted in over $100 million in losses for the company. They were also charged with overcharging the Washington in regards to their Brown and Root subsidy because they charged it during 1995 through 1997. And it was actually settled out of court for over $2 million instead of being charged with in total.
Their subsidiary, Brown and Root, had one of the biggest contracts, the log cab contract, and it was significantly caused more loss in money than any of the other ones. And typically, like in World War II, contractors were like 1 to 7 for soldiers, but in this instance, there's more soldiers than contractors, which is a problem. And not only did they not record everything properly in the books, they also didn't go through with everything in the contract. There's meals that they didn't serve. The inflation prices for gases were there, and they also had excessive administrative costs.
Additionally, Dick Cheney made some questionable legal decisions during his time as CEO. According to a 2004 New Yorker article published on February 16th entitled Contract Sport, there were 3 countries at the time that Dick Cheney was CEO in the Middle East which had U.S. sanctions against them for suspected terrorist activities. And those 3 were Iran, Iraq, and Libya. And using the foreign subsidiaries of Halliburton and Dresser Industries, Dick Cheney continued to facilitate trade and business transactions with these 3 companies. Additionally, in addition to the sanctions, they also used these foreign subsidiaries to evade United States taxes.
Dick Cheney used his former position as CEO of the Halliburton Company to influence his governmental policy. According to an article written in the magazine The Atlantic called Dick Cheney, Rand Paul, and the Possibility of Malign Leaders, written on April 9, 2014, Dick Cheney allowed his previous role as CEO of the Halliburton to influence his governmental decisions. He was previously CEO. He made a lot of money by being CEO, and then in that position, he did not support the Iraq War. However, when he became vice president, he completely changed his position. When he became vice president, he wasn't CEO anymore. However, he still had stock, meaning he was still benefiting from the company's success. Because of the company was put in by the government to be the sole company working through the Iraq War, supplying the Iraq War. This allowed Halliburton to have excessive financial success, which Dick Cheney essentially benefited from by having the company work on the Iraq War.
Overall, we found that Dick Cheney is not inherently controversial, but was involved in many controversial practices. He was involved with shady financial things through the accounting transparency in 1998, the lug cab contract, and from overbilling Washington. He got involved with the economic sanctions, controversies involving economic sanctions, and he had government bias for his company through the Iraq War and his involvement with Halliburton.